I'm your host, Pat's Path Predictor, and we have breaking news. Alright, so this is the situation we have right here. Tropical Storm Bonnie has just made landfall in Nicaragua, in the southern part of Nicaragua, ladies and gentlemen. I'm repeating, Bonnie made landfall. It currently has winds of 50 miles per hour. It's strengthened in the last few hours. We had hurricane hunters out there. Reports from an Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate that the winds before landfall fall increased to near 50 miles per hour with higher gusts. Weakening is likely while the center of Bonnie crosses Nicaragua and Costa Rica. The storm is forecast to re-intensify over the eastern Pacific Saturday night and Sunday. Tropical storm force winds extend out 115 miles per hour, 15 miles from the center. But I want everyone to pay attention to this next part because the pressure is down to 997 millibars. That is very low for a tropical storm of this strength, which means that at this point the pressure is low, and so yeah, the pressure is pretty low, and we could see potentially this thing holding together much easier. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the cone. As you can see, landfall has occurred. It is expected to strengthen into a hurricane. The NHC estimates it'll be an 85 mile per hour hurricane by Tuesday, but it's expected to strengthen into a hurricane by Monday, unless this thing gets its act together once it crosses Nicaragua and Costa Rica. Like, this thing made landfall like either just north or on the Nicaragua and Costa Rica border. I can actually take a look at it right here. Okay, this is it right here. It makes landfall near the Nicaragua-Costa Rica border. Tropical storm conditions and heavy rains are spreading across portions of Nicaragua and Costa Rica. Okay, now we can base this on the satellite imagery, but like a very large portion of Nicaragua, like the eastern half of it, as well as Costa Rica and parts of Panama, are getting very heavy rain from this. If you are in Nicaragua, if you are in Costa Rica watching this, you need to take this very seriously. Flash flooding is a huge threat with this storm, as well as the potential for a lot of mudslides. So everyone needs to take this seriously, and this thing will pass in the next 12 hours. It might even pass less than that, considering that it was actually supposed to move through further north up to Nicaragua. It actually moved and wobbled a little bit to the south, so that gives it a little less time over land, which is actually good for the storm, because the less time it has over land, the more time basically it'll have to reorganize and redevelop and all of that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the tracks and the intensity. This thing's going to be over. It's going to be gone in the next 12 hours, so you guys have to hopefully hold off until then. And then basically after 12 hours, this thing's going to move out to sea, and then it's going to start developing, organizing, start intensifying again as it moves into the eastern Pacific. It's going to stay out to sea, which is good news. However, parts of southern Mexico could see the outer bands of this thing if this thing gets close enough and strong enough. Speaking of strength, let's look at the intensity. We have the latest models in right here. The vast majority of models indicate this thing is going to be a hurricane, agreeing with the NHC. However, some have it going up even stronger. We have a decent chunk of models getting up to Category 2 strength. We have 4 models going up to Category 3 strength, which at this point, I think it is possible at this point in time, because basically, if we take a look at it, the pressure's down to 997. If this thing will likely not get hampered that much by the land at this rate, considering how fast it's moving, it's not going to the intensity's not going to get knocked down to a degree where it's going to dissipate over land. If it were making landfall at a different angle, if it were making landfall and moving northwest, that would be a different story. But it's just moving due west through Nicaragua and Costa Rica, which are some of the thinnest parts of at least narrowest area land-wise of pretty much of North America right there. So yeah, it's not really going to be hurt that much, but we will be paying attention to this. Majority of models once again have this as a hurricane. Some Cat 2, 4 have it at Category 3, so we'll have to pay close attention as time goes on. So we also need to pay attention to the wind shear right here. I'm going to move this over so I can explain it better. The wind shear, as you can see, after this thing moves past Nicaragua and Costa Rica, the wind shear is not going to be, it's going to be open season for this thing. Like, the wind shear is really weak here. This thing's going to end up crossing to the Pacific, become Tropical Storm Darby as it does that, and it's going to start intensifying into that hurricane I was talking to you about. So there's the wind shear. The global sea temperatures are another story, actually. If we take a look at it, 28 to 30 degrees all over right here. Plenty of warm water for this thing to develop. We're looking at 83, 84, potentially up to 85 degrees in some of these areas of warm water. And this goes about 30 to 40 meters deep. So that's a considerable amount right there. And considering how fast this thing's moving, it won't even take that much off of it. I have a couple of more things I want to show you. First thing we need to talk about is the Hurricane Air Hunters reconnaissance right here, because we have this right here from Tropical Tidbits. Shout out to them. I'll leave a link to the website in the description below if you want to check it out. But yeah, if we take a look at it, this is what the latest we have right here. And this is actually the path that these guys took. That's how they found that pressure of 997. They were able to use a drop send. We can actually pull up the drop right here, as a matter of fact. You guys can see that the drop send had this at 997 millibars at the surface, with northeast winds at 10 knots, which is kind of close to where the supposed eye of the system was. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing to take a look at. The max wind we had with this, 47 knots right here. That equates to about 54 miles per hour. So that's why they went up that 50 mile per hour wind right there. Excuse me. So that's the recon mission right here. We had some flight level winds earlier of over 60 knots, and we had SFMRs over 50. The drop send came in. It materialized to an extent, and that's why they upgraded it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and go to these models right here. We're gonna start with the HMON, then we're gonna go to the GFS, and then the HWRF. Start with the HMON. The HMON right here, as you can see, it makes landfall. It really doesn't lose that much composure right here. And then it moves off to the coast of Nicaragua and Costa Rica right here. It immediately starts reorganizing, starts redeveloping, starts rapidly intensifying. What I'm about to show you next is absolutely jaw-dropping right here. So it goes down, it rapidly intensifies, down to 973, 970, then just bombs out, down to 962, 958, 945 millibars. Now, that is quite outlandish. The HMON is being extremely aggressive with this. But as I'm about to show you with the GFS and HWRF, the HWRF has something around 960 or something like that. The GFS has it around 985. But all of them agree that this is going to be a hurricane at the end of the day. 945 millibars, max winds 140 knots. That's a Category 4 hurricane right there. That is what you're looking at as a Category 4 hurricane, if the HMON is the correct model. Now, this model is in my opinion, quite outlandish, because it's, number one, it's early July, and I mean, it's possible for these things to happen, but for that you would need better conditions than this. I mean, the conditions here right now are already pretty good, but nevertheless, you'll need even better conditions than that. But the HMON is suggesting is something that would normally happen from mid-August to early October right there. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and go to the GFS right here. The GFS model, as you can see, it moves through rather quickly, and then it takes a while to organize, then it starts to intensify again. It eventually bottoms out at 985 millibars right here off the coast of Mexico. About a Category 1 hurricane right here. So I can confidently say this is going to be a Category 1 hurricane at some point right here. But at least a Cat 1. So the question is, when will it happen, and how strong will it get? So yeah, the GFS, it kind of meanders, stagnates. Actually, no, the GFS actually, never mind, it actually drops down even more. 963 millibars, 959. Please excuse that. I made a wrong error earlier. The GFS is going really aggressive with this. 959 millibars. That's with the max winds of 113 knots. That's Category 3 strength right there. So, yeah, all these major models are showing scenarios of potential major hurricane status right here, which I do think is outlandish for right now, but it's not off the table. Now, we're going to go ahead and go to the HWRF right here. So, as you can see, it moves through, it makes landfall. It already did. And then it starts immediately organizing, intensifying. It continues to do that, and then it drops down to 962 millibars right here. Like, yeah, back here, 962. And with the max winds at 136 knots, that's either a high-end Cat 3 or a low-end Category 4 right there. So we have the GFS, the HMON, and the HWRF, all of them indicating a potential major hurricane in the Pacific Ocean. Now, I have a couple of problems with this. The first problem is that I mentioned it earlier, it's early July, and the odds of you seeing that, unless it's like a year where it's like 2005, is relatively low. Could we see it? Absolutely. Anything is possible. Is it likely? No, it's not. The second problem I have with this is that even though the wind shear and there's plenty of warm water, just the water isn't deep enough to really support that. Like, if you want a really good hurricane like that, you're going to need, like, deeper water at that point. You're going to need deeper warm water, because if you have warm water just on the surface, it just sucks it up, and that's pretty much it. It upwells the rest of it, and it has a harder time in those environmental conditions right there. So that's basically the situation we're looking at right here. We're looking at very crazy and very aggressive models. We have this thing making landfall in Nicaragua and Costa Rica. If you're in those areas, you are susceptible to a lot of flooding. So stay where you are. If you have to, get into higher ground. Do what you need to do. But with that being said, it's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. It helps me out, helps me make more videos like these. The goal of this channel is to get more people engaged with weather, which is what I'm hoping I'm doing with these videos. But with that being said, guys, have a wonderful night. If you're in Costa Rica. So, with that being said, we're going to look at two more. I am f***ing recording! Get out! I'm serious, get out!
I know you are.
Get out!
That would be funny. That would be funny, and then you cursed.